Imagine trying to preserve your story in a time before there was an alphabet to write one with. If you were clever like Jacob, I think you would attach your stories to the stars. This is Jacob's Zodiac Theory, Part 2. Last time we talked about how Jacob may have made an association between his 12 sons and different constellations in the sky, like the 12 Zodiac. And we talked about obvious ones, like Judah is like a lion, like Leo. But those are obvious because Leo has always been a lion. Across the centuries, it hasn't changed much. But what about the zodiac symbols and images that have changed over the centuries? I'm betting we would only start to see parallels if we looked at the oldest versions of those constellations. Let's take Aries, for example. Today, we see Aries as a harmless, fluffy sheep. But in the oldest star catalogs, Aries is the hired man constellation. It's the guy who protects the sheep. It's a warrior. Someone who the farmer hires to fight off bandits and raiders, the hired man constellation. And when you look at Gad's blessing, Gad will be attacked by raiders and he will attack their heels. Gad is being directly associated with hired man imagery, isn't he? Perhaps because Jacob's trying to say, when you look at the hired man constellation, I want you to remember my son Gad, a warrior capable of fighting off those bandits. I think that's plausible. Let's take a look at Virgo. Today, we see Virgo as a woman, as a virgin. But in the oldest star catalogs, Virgo was just a plot of land, a fertile field. You know, it was a very practical zodiac back then. You used the zodiac to keep track of the year. When you saw Taurus, it's time to send out the oxen to plow up the field. And when you see Gemini, it's time to send your sons out to go scatter seed in it. And by the time Virgo shows up, it's harvest time. And when we look at Asher's blessing, Asher's food will be rich and he will produce royal delicacies. I think Asher's being associated with the fertile field, the delicacies that come out of it. Asher's very name means joy, and it's a joy when harvest time comes. I think that's plausible, right? I think the same thing applies to Zebulun and Cancer. Cancer is a crab to us today, but it used to be a crayfish. It's always been a crustacean, a seaside delicacy. And Zebulun's blessing talks about the place where you go fish for those seaside delicacies. Zebulun will live by the seashore and will be a harbor for ships, and his territory will be next to Sodom. Now you could say maybe that's a stretch, since it doesn't mention the name of a crayfish directly, but it is kind of odd that Zebulun is the only one of 3 sons whose territories will be by the sea that gets the sea mentioned in his blessing. Maybe it's because he's the only one being linked with this type of constellation. Finally, let's talk about Joseph. Joseph is so clearly being compared to an archer, Sagittarius. The archers attacked him, they shot at him, they were hostile towards him, yet his bow remained steady, his strong arms were made agile by the hands of the mighty one of Jacob. Jacob is comparing Joseph's story to archery terms, because he wants you to think of Joseph when you see the archer in the sky. Remember how he was under fire from many arrows. We'll talk about the rest in part 3.